Thank you, Matt. I apologize to you and to everyone in this room for walking in late.
You don't need to apologize for that.
No. I have a question.
If you're apologizing for that, there are a lot of other people that owe me and the members of this room apologies. But I don't think it's necessary.
Barging in, I should be waiting and sitting and getting ready. Anyway, on UNRWA, if I may.
Yeah.
The Harris reported that Israel is moving to dismantle UNRWA without replacement body to manage aid for Palestinians in Gaza. And it says while the Israeli army plans to fully dismantle the UN agency in order to undermine Hamas's civilian rule in Gaza, including through a slander campaign, it is unclear which organization will assume its responsibility. Are you aware of this report, first of all?
I'm aware of the report. When it comes to UNRWA, our position has not changed. As you know, we have paused our funding while the investigations are ongoing, and we have been exploring ways to continue to deliver humanitarian assistance through other partners on the ground, UNICEF, the World Food Program. But right now, UNRWA plays a critical role in delivering humanitarian assistance to Palestinian civilians that no other agency is positioned to assume.
Okay, but if in the event, I know you may say this is hypothetical, but in the event that this comes to light, that Israel actually is taking steps to dismantle UNRWA, will the United States have a position, a contrary position, or a position to say, stop this dismantling?
So first of all, I would say that I don't think it's news that Israel has had issues with UNRWA. Those predate October 7th. They go back many, many years,
yes,
as I know you are well aware.
Yes,
but it doesn't change our position with respect to UNRWA and the important work that it continues to do to deliver humanitarian assistance to Palestinian civilians who desperately need it.
Right. So in your view, UNRWA is the only organization that can, at least for now, can mete out the kind of aid that it has been giving to the Palestinians for the past 70 years or some odd years and so on, in education, healthcare, and so on. I mean, is there any other organization that could do this? In your view, any alternative organization?
As we stand today, no, there is not, but we do continue to explore alternative groups and alternative organizations that can deliver the humanitarian assistance that UNRWA delivers.
Yeah. I have a couple more, if I may.
I'll come to you in a second.
Yeah. There's also reports on that the Israelis have tortured detainees, Palestinian detainees in Gaza. Are you aware of such reports?
I have seen those.
Comment on it?
I have seen those reports. I don't have no way to verify them, but of course we would expect Israel to treat any detainees consistent with the rule of law, consistent with international humanitarian law.
Yeah, but also, the Israelis themselves, Israeli soldiers themselves, are basically posting videos showing that they're hoarding groups of Palestinian detainees, even in the West Bank, dragging them like cattle and so on. Have you seen any?
I have, and again, we expect them to treat any detainees consistent with international humanitarian law.
Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just on that, drill down on you said you're exploring alternative options for getting aid into Gaza. Does that mean the U.S. has decided that UNRWA is not the organization for the future?
No, this is something I've spoke to before when I've been asked about the fact that the supplemental request that passed the Senate contained a prohibition on funding for UNRWA. So we have to plan for the fact that Congress may. Let me back up and say, we obviously have a pause in place with funding for UNRWA right now. We have to plan for the fact that Congress may make that pause permanent. I don't know that that's going to happen, and we haven't made any determinations with respect to what the administration will do because we're waiting on the UN investigation. But just as part of prudent planning, we have to plan for all possible alternatives, and so we have been exploring dealing with other humanitarian agencies that could deliver humanitarian assistance.
But in the event, I know you're probably going to say this is a hypothetical, but I think that you are raising a pretty stark possibility that the main aid organization delivering aid to Palestinians at this time of extreme need is losing perhaps permanently its main funder. You've said the US has given $300 to $400 million a year to UNRWA. I think you're historically the biggest funder
Correct.
of this organization, right? So if you're sort of willing to live in a universe where UNRWA doesn't get US funding, that seems to be basically an admission that Israel which obviously wants to seems to want to delegitimize UNRWA, has succeeded.
So first of all, I think let's not get ahead of several things that have not yet happened. One, the investigation that the United Nations is conducting that still is ongoing. Two is whatever Congress may do. I've just said, as we have said before, that it is prudent for us to plan for all possible scenarios. I don't think if we get to a place where Congress has banned funding, you would want to look back and say, you would be asking me questions, why didn't you do anything to plan for this when one House of Congress has already passed a ban on funding? You would have very legitimate questions about why we hadn't planned for that. So we plan for all eventual outcomes. That doesn't mean that it's the outcome that we expect will happen. It may be that that there are different paths that unfold before us, but we just have to plan to be prudent to make sure there is no suspension of this humanitarian assistance to the Palestinian people, because we know they desperately need it, and we are committed to delivering it. Jen, I'm gonna go back.